Welcome back to another episode review of Eerie, Indiana. If you're new here, I've been doing a review of every single episode of Eerie, Indiana, so feel free to watch my previous videos. In this video, I'll be reviewing episode 13, Tornado Days, so let's get into it. This episode originally aired on March 1st, 1992, and was directed by Ken Coopas, who directed episodes of Santa Clarita Diet, The Office, and Parks and Recreation. The episode starts off with Marshall's family getting ready to go to a picnic for their first ever tornado day. Marshall tells them that it's crazy to go, that every year an old tornado called Old Bob strikes Eerie on the same day, and that they turned it into some Mondo voodoo pagan ritual.
Do you ever have a normal thought? What happened? Couldn't find the off switch on your blow dryer?
Marshall's dad tells Marshall that it's just a superstition, just an excuse to have a picnic, because tornadoes are the most unpredictable event in nature. Then Marshall's mom agrees with Edgar and tells Marshall there isn't even a cloud in the sky. Then Simon tells him that one year a tornado did carry off Mr. Dagenford. The story is that Old Bob the tornado was picking on him for not going to Tornado Day. Edgar tells Simon he's been hanging around Marshall too long.
Simon, didn't you say you bought a raffle ticket? I did, but I was forced.
Then Cindy tells Marshall she knows why he won't go with them, because he saw the Wizard of Oz and is scared of the tornado.
The only thing I'm afraid of is being seen in public with you.
Edgar tells Marshall he can stay home if he's worried about the tornado, but if he hears sirens to go into the basement. As they leave, Marshall's mom asks Simon one last time if he wants to come along. Simon says no. His parents leave and Marshall thinks that they're all crazy for going. Simon asks Marshall if Bob doesn't show up after an hour, if they can go to the raffle drawing. Just then, the weatherman, Wally, who was played by Kelly Connell from Spider-Man 2, interrupts the TV show and informs him that a tornado has been seen.
Just in time for the Tornado Day drawing. Old Bob is back, right on schedule.
Tornado sirens are heard and Marshall's door swings open. Marshall and Simon close it and look out the window to see a bike fly away. Then they hear a loud crash at the front yard. They go outside to investigate the crash. They see a large metal pod, then the door pops open and a man's head pops out. Marshall and Simon ask the man if he's okay. The man asks where he is, and Simon tells him Eerie, Indiana. The man crawls out and is amazed that he got to Eerie, Indiana. He then asks Marshall and Simon why they aren't at the picnic. Are they trying to make him angry? Marshall asks who, then the man responds,
Old Bob.
Back in the house, the man's name is revealed to be Howard Raymer, who was played by Matt Frewer, who I know from Dawn of the Dead and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and Max Headroom. He apparently fell out of a tornado.
Next thing I knew, I was aloft.
Marshall thinks what Howard is doing is dangerous, which Howard says it's incredibly dangerous, but someone's got to do it. Howard tells him that he works for NOAA.
I work for NOAA.
The guy from the Bible?
No, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Howard tells him that he's a meteorologist. Marshall says he's never met a weatherman before.
Weathermen are guys who wear stupid pink bow ties on TV. A meteorologist is a scientist.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Howard says he needs scientific training to deal with tornadoes. Howard says that tornadoes are temperamental, like a 2-year-old who lost its toys. Marshall says he makes it sound like the tornado is alive, and Howard says that's his theory, that all violent weather systems are alive. Why else would people give them names? And Simon asks, like Old Bob? Howard says like Old Bob in particular, that he likes to collect things.
I think he picked up Amelia Earhart. Sucked her right out of the Pacific.
Simon, remember that old Lockheed Electra they found in Deadwood Park? Amelia Earhart's plane. You don't suppose she's that old lady we always see jogging?
Marshall asks Howard what makes him think that tornadoes are living things. Howard scoffs and tells him to follow him. They go outside to Howard's invention, called the Tornado Rider. He shows them this other invention.
Radioisotopic, thermally generated cyclonic acoustic data storage unit. Built it myself.
I suppose you'd have to.
It records the vocal sounds of a tornado, and they're listening to Old Bob himself, but Marshall says it just sounds like a bunch of wind. It seems to irritate Howard, because he says that's what everyone says, but he tells him to listen again.
That's the voice of a tornado? No way! How's it know your name?
Marshall asks Howard why would old Bob be mad. Howard tells him that big storms have big egos, and Bob is no exception, that every year he leaves Eerie alone because they throw a picnic for him, but because Marshall didn't go, he took that as a sign of disrespect. Marshall can't believe that. Howard tells him to listen to his radio. Howard tells Marshall he has to believe him, and that if he doesn't get back into the air, there's no telling what damage Bob will do. Marshall tells him to do what he has to do. Howard says he needs Marshall's help, and then he spots the tornado sirens. It cuts to the picnic, where the rest of the town is celebrating Tornado Day. Marshall's parents are hiding underneath a table at the World of Stuff. Cindy tells him that Bob has left already. Mr. Radford tells everyone that it's time for the grand drawing and for Sydney to start it. Marshall's parents are talking to each other, and Edgar says that Marshall was right. It happened right on schedule. Marshall's mom is worried about Marshall. Edgar tries to reassure her that Marshall is probably alright hiding in the basement, but decides to give Marshall a call. Back at the house, Marshall gets a call from Edgar, but Marshall reassures his dad that everything is okay and not to worry. He goes outside with Howard, who is hanging on the tornado sirens. They are trying to turn every siren in Eerie into a giant set of speakers. Howard said if this doesn't work, nothing will. Howard asks who's with him, and Simon suggests Marshall. Howard asks Marshall if he's in.
Anything to scare old Bob. Simon, if anything happens, I can have your bike? Simon.
At the picnic, Cindy is getting ready to pick the winner for the drawing. First place gets an RV trailer, and second place is a trip to Normal, Illinois. Suddenly, they hear strange noises coming from the tornado sirens. Mr. Radford says that he's never heard sirens like that before, and he hopes that no one disrespected Bob, which makes Marshall's parents want to go home. But Officer Knight tells him that no one is leaving, that everyone needs to shelter inside the World of Stuff. It cuts back to Marshall and Howard sending these weird messages to old Bob. Howard then tells Marshall that should do it, making Marshall think it's over, that they saved the Eerie, and gives Howard a high five. Marshall asks Howard what the messages to old Bob were saying.
Bob! It's me, Howard! Your mama was a dust devil, Bob! Come and get me, Bob! You big bag of wind!
Marshall thinks Howard is crazy for saying those things to old Bob, that it might make old Bob come back, and Howard says that's what he wants, that Bob is too dangerous, and he can't stop him unless he gets inside of the tornado with his rider. Marshall tells Howard that if the tornado comes back, it would kill them both, and Howard tells Marshall, bingo. Simon then yells at Marshall, warning them that old Bob is coming. Marshall asks Howard what to do.
You ever wondered just what you'd do if you only had 10 minutes to live? Now's your chance!
Marshall and Simon start screaming in terror. Howard is gathering his things to go out to fight old Bob, but Marshall and Simon are begging Howard to forget this hero stuff and to go into the basement. Howard tells them they can go, but he's going out there. Marshall and Simon tackle Howard to the floor. Just then the lights go out and a big noise is heard outside. They check outside and see that Bob destroyed Howard's tornado rider. Howard closes the door and asks Marshall if he has a bike. Marshall says no way and to go into the basement. Then Howard says he'll go out naked if he has to. Marshall says why. It's him that Bob is mad at. Howard says that Marshall doesn't understand, that it's for his friends.
6 years ago, I was in charge of this group at NOAA. We were all obsessed with tornadoes. Had one thing in common. We all wanted to know the secrets. I led 7 men into the belly of old Bob. Only I came out.
Howard says that old Bob killed his friends and that he has to do something about it. Howard says he just wants to trick old Bob.
Crossing Lake Erie, the moist, cool air will finish him.
How do you trick a tornado?
You ride him like a rodeo cowboy.
Yeehaw!
But Howard doesn't know where he would find a new tornado rider. Marshall then has an idea and tells him to follow him. At the World of Stuff, Marshall's parents and everyone are watching old Bob.
No, I've never seen it this bad before. It's terrifying. The wind's speeding. Thanks, I needed that.
Officer Knight tells everyone to move to the rear of the store. Marshall's mom asks if they should be in the basement. Officer Knight tells them that the world of stuff was designed to withstand nuclear strikes and that they will be safe.
What about you, officer?
I laugh at things.
It cuts to Marshall and Howard riding bikes over to the town where the prize trailer is. Howard says it's perfect. Simon asks Marshall if this is stealing. Marshall says it's an emergency and that they are just borrowing it. But Simon isn't happy with that answer. So Marshall goes to the raffle box and finds Simon's number.
And the winner is... Hit me! What's your number? 103! What do you know? 103 it is! Congratulations, Simon. Now let's go! I won the trailer? I really won? Never won anything before!
Inside the world of stuff, Elvis is singing and everyone joins in. Mr. Radford is freaked out and tells Officer Knight that they might need some extreme measures.
Right. Human sacrifice is barbaric. Besides, where would we find an innocent, chaste, unsuspecting maiden?
What?
Howard is in the trailer getting ready for Bob, but Bob is getting closer. Marshall notices that Howard doesn't have his cyclonic data unit. Without it, he'll be flying blind. Howard says that's a chance he'll have to take and tells Marshall and Simon to get inside the house. Marshall and Simon run inside the house. Marshall sees Howard's cyclonic data unit and says he can't let Howard go without it. Simon tells him not to do it, that he'll kill himself, but Marshall runs outside with it. He approaches the trailer and gives Howard the unit, and Howard tells Marshall that was very brave of him. But Marshall can't hear him due to all the wind. Howard tells Marshall to get inside, and Marshall wishes him luck and gives him a handshake, but just as they do, the trailer begins to lift off the ground. Howard is holding on to Marshall, but it's too late. They are in the air flying in the sky. Simon shouts at Marshall to come back. Howard is trying his best to hold on to Marshall, who is terrified and shouting for Howard not to let him go. Just then, Howard's glove comes off with Marshall and he goes flying into the air, and the trailer with Howard goes up towards Bob. It cuts to Marshall's parents and everyone at the World of Stuff, worried, but then they hear another siren, but this time it's the all-clear siren, and Officer Knight tells everyone they can return to their homes. As Marshall's parents are leaving the World of Stuff, Marshall's jacket falls from the sky, which makes Marshall's parents rush home. At the teller's house, they are looking through the rubble for Marshall, and Simon tells him what happened and how brave he was at the end.
You know, I almost feel bad about all the mean things I said.
Marshall's mom is getting upset, but just then Marshall speaks to them from the tree he's been stuck in. They ask him how he ended up in the tree, and Marshall tells them he had a little help from old Bob. Simon asks Marshall where Howard is, and Marshall just gives him Howard's glove. Marshall says that night Weatherman Wally had a UFO report. Someone reported seeing something that looked like the RV trailer that Howard was in heading towards the Great Lakes at 300 miles per hour. Marshall doesn't know if Howard was crazy or a genius, but thanks to him, Marshall wasn't going to let Eerie scare him again. Well, not as much. And that concludes episode 13 of Eerie, Indiana, and that episode was intense. It was more action-packed than the normal paranormal stuff we're used to, but good nonetheless. An episode about an angry tornado, but with the Eerie, Indiana touch to it, makes this episode hold up in my opinion. I love the idea of a tornado having feelings and being alive basically. The director did a great job, as did the cast. This was one of the episodes that stuck with me all these years and an instant classic. Let me know if you guys remember this one, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.